Hey, this is Stefan Aronsen with Balanced Breakfast. You're watching The Spotlight on rockstardreams.com. Get ready. The thing that I always like to start with so people can understand where I'm coming from is that I've always wanted to be a rock star, and I have never been a rock star. I can't play any instruments. The gene for playing instruments jumped over my family. It started with my grandpa, and then it went like around to the uncles and aunts and all the cousins, and then probably to the generation below me, just to spite me, just to go right around me. And so it's always been a passion. It's always been a desire to be in the music industry, but I've never had the skills to play instruments or to sing or to do what would be fundamentally like the core of the music industry. So I probably would have started in the industry in the 90s as like a street team person or street team evangelist where someone discovers you're willing to work for free if they send you a bunch of swag, and that they recognize that by giving you a box of cool band stuff, you're going to take it around and give it to all your friends and try to make your friends fans as well. And so I was free labor as my first industry experience. So if you're not going to be a rock star, the next natural path is to be a graphic designer, is what I decided. I think, right? It seems natural. So I got a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree in graphic design. And then I had to figure out, how do you take a graphic design degree and turn that into a rock star kind of position where you can go to lots of shows and hang out with people who are creating music. It's a very natural progression, I think. Right?
Seems legit.
Yeah. I got pulled into a really small label doing basic design for posters and promotional stuff within their industry for like 4 or 5 bands, and it was basically like, if there's such thing as like getting a taste, this was like a taste to get me hooked, and I came back for more. So when I moved from from Portland to San Francisco, my first job was at a licensing company, which was a different kind of taste and a different kind of experience. And it's the first time that I started doing CD packaging design, and it's sort of a thrill. It's sort of a thrill, but it's still not having you at shows. So you're still in an office creating designs that will be distributed digitally, and it's still not the rock and roll feeling I wanted. So I guess you want like a little bit more of a progression of like how to get closer and closer to what I wanted.
Yeah, totally. What was kind of the aha moment for Balanced Breakfast?
So Balanced Breakfast became Balanced Breakfast after a whole bunch of attempts at creating something that felt right in the music industry. So it was not the first choice. It was not the first idea. It was not the first iteration. I was pushing the design envelope as much as possible. I got a master's degree in graphic design. I created a thesis project that established what I called the 5 P's of survival, which were plan, personify, promote, plug in, play. It's 5 books that each had about 100 pages that talked about how to survive in the music industry. Well, the problem with printed material is it goes out of date in about 6 months. So I had this amazing epic book that I was like, this needs to be published. And then like, what, Facebook takes over MySpace, so any mentions of MySpace are no longer applicable in this book. So the book, like a big chunk of it is like not applicable anymore. So I realized print media wasn't the route to go to feel relevant and feel rock and roll. So I started a radio show at Mutiny Radio, and it fulfilled my like ability to sit down with bands and talk to them and to host like little mini shows, and it felt rock and roll. But radio is really hard because you can't see your audience. You don't know who you're affecting. You don't know who's listening and who's interacting. So I got burnt out after about 2.5 years of that. And in the middle of that, a guy named Andy Freeman asked me if I wanted to get together and talk about the Bay Area music scene. And we got together once, and We enjoyed each other's company, and he was like, "Do you want to get together and do this again?" And I was like, "That sounds great." Which is, I kind of told that story last part correct, and I kind of told it wrong. Technically, he said, "Do you want to start like a record label or a management company or something like to manage bands in the music industry?" And I said, "Would you like to meet again and talk about that with other people?" And that spawned Balanced Breakfast, because we never created a record label or a management company. We just kept meeting over and over and over again, and then started meeting in other cities, and it kind of blew up. It was accidental and it was purposeful. The mornings were the only time that both I was free and Andy was free, and we intentionally shared a meal together, which felt like bonding. And after doing it for a few times, it was just like, this is perfect. We joked that 8 a.m. meant you were serious, because that's what time we started meeting at. And if you were willing to get up at 8 a.m. to meet Balanced Breakfast, that meant like you were serious about being successful, and that meant we wanted to hang out with you and work with you. Um, and then we kind of realized that it was also perfect that we were meeting at 8 a.m. because we weren't drinking, and so we are taking like all these people that are used to bonding over like whiskey or beer, and saying, no, you have to be sober, you have to get up early, and like it's a completely different experience. And it was awesome. People were tired, people were cranky, people were not always in the mood to be there at 8 a.m., but like they bragged that like they got their day started way earlier than they would have otherwise, and that like they got motivated, and then just it felt right, so we just kept doing it. Though we've gotten a little bit lazy in San Francisco, because we used to meet at 8 and now we meet at 9. So, but I think we're still serious. One of our main things that we try to accomplish is that we don't complain about how good the music industry used to be in the past and how much it's like fallen apart now. We specifically say, okay, this is what the industry looks like now. Matter of fact, like no punches pulled. This is what it looks like. How are we going to work within this industry, and how are we going to like make our existing industry look like better in the future? So we're not saying, oh, it's so much better when this, it was so much better when this. It's like we're saying, what tools do we have now, and how can we use those tools to affect our future? And that's our main purpose. And then from there we start talking about streaming and email marketing and social media and writing songs, and we try to go back and forth between specifically musician related things and market like industry stuff, because we would lose a lot of people if we just talked about writing songs, because we're a complete industry group.
Very cool. I know you have a national summit coming up.
Oh yeah.
This is your first, I guess, big music conference,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could say. Looking at your panelists, you got some incredible panelists together. Kind of talk about how you formed this,
Yeah.
and what some of the topics are going to be discussed.
So when Balanced Breakfast was 1 year old, people were like, oh my gosh, Balanced Breakfast, you've only been doing this for a year, that's amazing, oh my gosh. When Balanced Breakfast was 2 years old, they were still just like, ah! And then as we started to push 3 years old, you could feel the energy going, well, now you've been together for 3 years and you're still meeting for breakfast. What is there for the people that have been doing it for the last 3 years? What are you offering? What's the twist? What makes this newsworthy still? And so I started racking my brain and saying, okay, well, first thing we could do is try to incorporate technology into breakfast. So I developed the Balanced Breakfast app, and that released in November, and that felt like, oh, this is a step in the right direction. And then I was like, okay, well, but we're still a meetup. How can you do Meetup 2.0? And I was like, okay, well, what if we take all the topics we've ever talked about and all the people that have been going to breakfast for the last 3 years and put them all in the same place at the same time, and then invite other cities to come in, and so like Austin, people from Austin are coming in, and people from Denver and LA, and from Seattle and San Diego, and it's just like that would be 2.0. That would be crazy. And so that's what we're doing. We're taking it to the next level and trying to give people something to talk about for the next year. Our keynote panel is going to be Aaron Axelson from Alt 105, and Mike Denny from Geographer, and John Vanderslice from Tiny Telephone. That one I'm kind of excited about. We're gonna talk about what is success, because everybody has a different idea of what it means to be successful. We're doing a panel about yoga and about stretching and about preparing for shows, which is going to be really cool. We're covering social media. We're covering how to write songs. So we have singer-songwriters like Jared from Abbott Kinney and Adam from Danger Maker, and that's gonna be cool. And then we have a booking one with Travis from Neck of the Woods, and we have a performance one with Dylan from Planet Booty and Kanoa, who owns Neck of the Woods. That's just something.
Awesome. So what's kind of your vision for BB going forward here?
People keep saying it's awesome. I want people to go, Balanced Breakfast is amazing, like the same way that you heard about Balanced Breakfast, where you go, oh man, like I was told about it and I went and checked it out, and it's holding up to the statements that people made. Like, it's cool. So thank you, Enon, for spreading the word.